really. I suppose, as well as being head of design DIT, I'm by profession an architect, so I suppose that will come into some of the things as we work our way along. These are the three things I was asked to talk about this morning. So, the importance of good design to the visitor experience, including displays and layout of the room, designing on a budget, and working with students. So I'm going to kind of flip and reverse the order and start with working with students. So, in my full-time role in DIT, we're dealing with students all the time. We've 20,000 of them, and we try and work with them as many as possible. And this is a picture of two students, both called Orla, looking into a mirror designed by another student, former graduate, Greg Timlin. And this is at a temporary exhibition. And a couple of things we do with the students, just to give you a little bit of background, because I'm going to talk about the students and then working it back through to exhibitions, so you get a couple of ideas. But at the moment, we're working on the Irish Thoroughbred Breeders Association Trophy. So we set out a design competition for the students. This is the winner. So James Cash from Athy, easily our most improved student through the course of DIT. But this was the simple little sketch that James did. I'm hoping it took James maybe up to a day. But realising it is taking myself and John Walsh, we spent about 10 hours each so far realising the trophy. And the first thing is just to say that the designs of things that you do is one component, but you've got to realise them, and we're still working on this. We've got to have, I think, 18 of these ready by early January, so we're trying to figure out how exactly to do it. There's a few things that we'll work with, but of course we're working with suppliers, so in this case, we've got to find someone who can make it, and that's based on our personal experience. And the same will happen when you're doing exhibitions. This is a project we did a couple of years ago with first years. It's called Small Spaces, Big Living, and it's the students' title, not ours. And what it is it's a project which we've done with a community of older people in Dublin City Council. Now, older people, as defined by Dublin City Council, is anybody above 50. So that's me and a lot of us are older people. And what happens is that we met with residents to try and find out their needs. And this is one of the first things that you find, is that essentially Dublin City Council provides these people with a bedsit. So there's one reasonably sized room, about I guess 13 feet by 14 feet, a small shower room and kitchen, or kitchenette really. And if you go into the guys' rooms, because we got taken by various house-proud people, so the guy takes us to his, and in his living room come bedroom, there's a gigantic bed. Okay, and a huge TV, and there's no room to get around. Okay, it's dreadful, right? You go to the ladies' ones, and there's two really nice ones. One you go in, and as you go into the room, what you see is a fireplace. Another one you see a television, but you see something to look at that draws you in. In one, the bed is hidden behind, it's disguised with cushions to look like a sofa. The other's a fold-out sofa bed. There's lots of room, it's very inviting, we sat and had tea. When we went back and talked to people about it, the guy said, well, I just don't know how to do these things. It's okay for the women. Now, leaving the sexism aside, he just didn't have the techniques. He didn't know anything about the techniques as to how to make his room better and his living experience better. So our students did about a document with about 50 different principles that you could do. And there's lots of principles to do with design. I'm not going to cover all of them here. But just to say that there's lots of ones that are important, and they're important not just what things look like, but how you use them. So what is design? If it's any consolation, the Design Council in the UK have struggled for about 18 years to come up with a definition. But the one I like is one which is applied creativity. There's an application to it. Okay? It's creative, but you're doing something. You're solving a problem. So, this is a picture of Ali Graham, the Dublin City architect. Ali, I've previously taught interior design, where Ali liked to call me a wallpaper fairy, which was vaguely insulting, but I quite enjoyed it. My friend Con, a graphic designer, called me a cushion fluffer. But when I got up this morning, the first thing I did was I got out of bed thinking about the PowerPoint presentation. I didn't worry that there was a lighting designer who designed the light. I didn't worry that a furniture designer had designed the bed. I didn't think about the fact that an interaction designer had designed the phone that I looked up to see what the time was. I didn't then go and see, well, Johnny Ives designed the Mac I'm working on. I didn't worry about the guy who came down the stairs when I got in the car and drove off worrying about a vehicle designer, and the guy who designed the gates, and the guy who designed the road, and the guy who designed the signs. I didn't worry about any of that. I just used it all to get here. Okay. And what does that mean? What is good design? Well, Dieter Rams, a very famous German designer, has 10 principles, but the one I like best is good design is as little design as possible. When someone goes to your exhibition, I don't want them coming back saying, oh, the design was great. You want them coming back saying, the exhibition was great. We saw great stuff about Porrick Piers, we saw great stuff about rural Ireland, we saw whatever it is you want them to see. We should be like the referees. You shouldn't be coming back talking about the design. Yes, if it goes wrong. That's kind of our role. It should be unnoticed. Now, it's very hard to describe what's good design if it's unnoticed, but I'll give you a very spectacular case of bad design. Everyone will know this one. Okay. I gave a talk in the Falls Road to the Culture Association, and they loved this slide, I have to say. It's the most popular slide I've ever shown. But the Titanic sank for a number of reasons. One of the reasons was that they forgot the binoculars in Southampton. I find that really strange. You know, like a simple checklist is one of the things you'll all need for your exhibition. It was a calm night. They couldn't see the iceberg because on a windy night, the waves would have made a lot of white stuff against the icebergs. But they'd forgotten the binoculars. Madness. Okay? They hadn't enough compartments to remain afloat. The ship was going to sink. Another design flaw. They hadn't calculated that they'd have enough lifeboats for the number of people. I mean, it sounds madness that you'd have less capacity in the lifeboats than you would have passengers. But the reason was they figured that they had enough radio communications that they'd stay afloat for long enough that people would come and rescue them. Of course, the fact that they were busy sending out messages all night, all wishing people greetings, made everybody upset. So every other ship turned off their radio. There's a whole series of design-related activities that went wrong, horribly. But it's not just about what the Titanic looked like. It's how it performed in all the various things and how the people on it performed. So, the question I get asked all the time is, are Irish people good designers? I get asked this all the time. And if you take design as a creative activity, which I think everybody accepts it is, people say, oh yeah, design's creative. They say, well, are Irish people creative? I says, oh yeah, there's all those musicians and there's all those authors, Joyce Shaw, Roddy Doyle, whatever. But Irish people are good designers, and they struggle to find examples. I'm going to show you a few odd examples. This is Paddy Maloney. I don't know if any of you know Paddy. He's from Kilkenny. He won the Dyson Award 10 years ago. We went out to celebrate recently with Dyson. It was great. For a very, very clever piece of kit called the anti-atrophy casting system. And it was just to basically fix a broken arm. And he won the award. He's been working at Dyson ever since. He's a really brilliant guy. Okay? When you use the hand dryer in the male toilets downstairs, Paddy had a go at that. Here's another guy who's also in the Dyson Awards, Ian Burnell from DIT. Paddy studied IT Carlo. Ian Burnell did this little thing. It's designed to save lives, and lives of the emergency services who have to go out every night and to a rural road and suddenly put up a barrier to say someone's crashed. And this gets out of the boot, it's recharged. When you flick a little black button, lights come on, pull it out, that's it, you're done. It's really clever. You may have seen Orla on the Orla O'Callaghan show, or various other things. She's been in every newspaper with this, as if from nowhere project in DIT. All the chairs come out of this sort of nested sort of tape. And this one I really like. It's about design for dimension. Okay, and the reason I like this is about colour. You can very clearly pick out the food on the left. It was done. The design here was done by Gregor Timlin, whose name you'll see with Nick Reisenbrink. But Gregor was the guy who designed the mirror at the start of the picture. But it struck me that you can really pick out the colours. And so I went home and I painted my garden wall on the basis of it, which turned out pretty well. And colour and paint is really cheap. The cheapest thing you can do in an exhibition is painting it. So we look at a few simple design principles, not the really complicated ones, like proportion. The story matters. Okay, everyone's going to tell you this. Okay, the first thing you got to do is get the story right. What's the story you're trying to tell? Okay, every story has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And you've got to figure out what they are, because that's what your exhibition is about. And again, just as Brian said, if you can't figure that out, if you can't name that simply, then you won't have much of an exhibition. You will have a loose collection of stuff, but we've all got that. An exhibition is different. So you can't plan it. This is my notebook of things that I'm planning out. I've done about half. I colour them in when I'm done. Location matters. Okay, everybody knows this. This is a place where we put a DIT exhibition in a few years ago. It's beautiful, great place for an exhibition. I'll show you a video of it. It's called Station House. It's beside the Pod nightclub in Harcourt Street in Dublin. Nobody came. There was no footfall. Okay, the location, it was a superb building, absolutely fantastic. but nobody came. Okay, all the people we knew would come, the students, their parents, me, you know, the usual suspects all came. But nobody who we really wanted to just wander by and see what we do in DIT. Also, one of the things that in the location, and this is one of the things that happens with your pop-up shops, is there weren't any toilets. We solved that really easily when the students' fathers was built, that got solved. Lights, we had to install them. You can see here there aren't any lights, so spend a lot of time installing lights. Okay, the layout matters. Okay, the layout matters not just when people are just wandering around idly on a Tuesday morning. The layout matters on the night. So everyone has an exhibition, has an opening night where it's jammers. Okay, so you have to figure out a way that people will get layout both times. I could have used this picture for every single slide. I could talk to you about IKEA till tomorrow afternoon if I really have the time. Any of you who've gone to IKEA will know it's based on what we call car fall. People follow around the M50. Okay, the building's on 3 stories. It's jacked up in the air, so you see the sign. Okay, so you see this big, bright yellow sign, and you think, oh God, will I go there? And it's located at a junction on the M50, specifically because lots of people pass. It's really important. The thing that's really clever about IKEA is when you drive up and you go on the ground floor, and I've been twice in the last 2 weeks, you go on the ground floor and you're parking underneath effectively the building. There's only one way in. It's very obvious where it is. And so you arrive and you see there's stairs and there's an escalator and you kind of wander up. And then you get to another floor and you think, oh, straight ahead you there's another stairs and there's another escalator, so you wander up and you're in a showroom. And you think, oh gosh, look, there's something in the bathrooms, or there's something in the bedroom. And you wander down, you see a line down there, and you sort of wander down there, and then there's a sort of left, and you look left, and then you kind of go right. And next thing you know, you've wandered around for about 50 minutes, and then, oh look, oh, there's a restaurant. Gosh, you know, now that I think of it, I'm a bit peckish. Okay, so you eat your restaurant, eat your food, and you think, there's Swedish meatballs over and over again. And you think, well, where do I go now? I'll go downstairs. And you wander downstairs, and lo and behold, there's all the cheap, simple stuff you can pick up. Little bits of lights, little bits of cutlery, little bits of all this stuff. So you do all that. And then you wander around, you find yourself, Jesus, I'm in a warehouse. You know, what am I doing in a warehouse? Oh gosh. And the reason you're in a warehouse is because when IKEA workers couldn't come in one weekend, the customers just said, look, we'll just get the stuff ourselves. So now you're in a warehouse. And then you're out. Okay, and there's another hot dog stand, a few other bits and pieces. It's very, very cleverly done. The layout is superb. Okay, I keep going there. Now they don't get everything right. They keep changing it. So recently they've got lights on the floor with the arrows pointing. You know, if you turn around and go the other way, you feel like one of those fish swimming against the tide. The sequence matters. Okay, these trains are actually at the back of the point. You get on the train to Dublin if you're Brian, because you're going back later on. Get a train. Okay. So first stop Mullaghyoge, second stop Athy, third stop Kildare. I don't know where after that. You don't have any choice. Okay. You can't say, well, actually, you know, I'd like to go to Mallow now. You know, it just doesn't work that way. You're in a set sequence. They want you to stop in certain ways. You can get off at Kildare and probably get to Mallow. Take a bit of time. But in your exhibition, figure out the sequence of the things that you want to see. And there's always an end point. There has to be an end point. Okay? So, Houston Station, Athy, wherever it is that you're going, you've got some end point in mind. Okay. Colour matters. For those of you who don't think colour matters, which of these is faster than the other? These are the abstract ones. You can think of that to yourself.
So what did you say?
Which of these is faster than the other? This is where design gets abstract. Okay.
Faster.
Okay. Which is a better football team? Okay. Which is a nicer tasting sugary liquid? Okay. Because colour matters. Because most of you can identify one of these colours with something. Okay. There's something intangible, and I won't overdo these kinds of design examples because we could have quite a lot of fun in psychiatry with these ones. Identity matters. So let's look at these guys. Okay. Apart from the air bit, they're all 4-letter words. They're all kind of blue and yellow, yellowish. Okay. They're all at the value end. Okay. These colours are deliberately chosen to tell you that. Okay. They family in that group. If it were deep reds and royal blues, maybe. But there's an implicitness in colour that's important. After I was flicking through this earlier this morning, I realised DIT's logo is blue and blue, yellow. Didn't fill me with a lot of joy, but they do. These things resonate. Again, I'm not going to go through all these. Lighting matters. If you want a simple example, okay. If you don't illuminate your objects, you know, there's lots of things you can't create, you can't control. And one of the problems with pop-up shops is they don't usually have any lights. So you've got to give a lot of thought to how you're going to light it, okay? How you're going to plug it in, where people are going to get to the toilet. Time matters. How temporary is temporary? The guy who put this seat here in the King's Inn quite some time ago probably thought it would just be there for a while. You don't know. Okay? So temporary could be an hour, it could be 3 days, it could be a week, it could be years. Figure out that thing and don't go too far around. Okay, budget matters. I was told to talk about the budget. Okay. So this is an Excel spreadsheet. I'm quite good at Excel. I like colouring in, but I'm quite good at this stuff. And every single thing we do in a DIT exhibition, we count. Rolls of Velcro, diesel for the van, screws, wheels, parking tickets. I'm trying to think of all the various ones. You name it, we put it in here. Okay? And you can think of a budget, you can kind of double it, and you can add 20%. It won't go too far wrong. The best way to handle a budget, start with a big one. Okay, that's the best way. Okay, so this may not look to you guys like a temporary pop-up exhibition, but it's a 4-day exhibition from Las Vegas designed by a DIT graduate called Aidan Corish from a company called Tangermint.com is the website. That's where I took the picture in the United States. And Aidan was telling me his brief for this was a short fax which he showed us and the students recently. It said, we want an exhibition, we want you to use latest technology, just get this number of chairs and people sitting around, and your budget's $1 million. So you thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because it was very wide. What the hell do you do with $1 million? Well, you kind of do this. Suppose you don't have $1 million. Let's think about it the opposite end of the scale. Making an exhibition of yourself. Okay, so Stephanie Gallagher, our fine arts student from 2 years ago, went on what you call a guerrilla garden exercise. So she went around and she had pop-up picnics all over the place. Somehow I got invited along, took this picture on a very, very, very cold night in Bowles Bridge. And it was a protest art show about NAMA. So we went to vacant properties and we squatted. And no one came along and said, will you move, or what are you doing there, or what, are you nuts? No one came anywhere near us. But we did this a number of times. But the exhibition there was us. We were the exhibit. It was really cheap. Stephanie came along with a couple of chairs and people brought, you know, it was big. Okay, use what you have. Okay, so we're in with the Heritage Council, so let's have a little bit of heritage. This is one of my actual favourite books, and I use this slide all the time. This house was constructed of materials that were found very close by. Okay, stones, some lime whitewash, some reed, straw, whatever for the roof. The geese, they would have ended up in the eiderdown. Some timber from the trees made the windows. Okay, the glass came from somewhere else. But people used what they had, and I actually think they made brilliant houses. But they used what they had. Brilliant, brilliant example of design. So, creating a pop-up exhibition or temporary museum in a vacant retail location. I coloured in the vacant when I sit at the back. Because I remember the first exhibition I ever did or got involved in was my final year in DIT in 1986. We had it in Ireland. Loads of people came. Okay, they came to buy carpets and curtains and God knows what else you buy in Ireland these days, or then. But they certainly saw our exhibition. It was fantastic. So it doesn't always have to be vacant. Okay, so just, it could, you know, be full of people. So this is what we did. This is in the complex in Smithfield. This is was to be a Tesco store, and a sort of limbo-like axe held over for a few years, and we created a temporary exhibition. We'd done it the previous year before I was in charge of exhibitions in DIT. And we spent about £6 grand on plywood that was put in, worked, paid a carpenter, it was thrown in the bin. Now to me, that is morally responsible. It is absolutely outrageous that even when there's a lot of money flowing around, you would do something like that. I don't know how they did it. So, when I got the gig, I decided to design and develop a simple little system. I'd seen one in Barcelona that had done a sort of simple exhibition based on lightweight timber frames. So we took 44mm by 44mm timber, and we made A1 size. Now, for those of you who don't use A1 size stuff very often, and that's an A4 sheet of paper. Double it's A2, double that's A3, and so on and so forth. So this was based on a simple modular system. We've reused it at least 10 times. We carry it around and we use it. Now the great thing about it is you don't need to prepare the venue. Okay, apart from the lighting, we just wheel it in, stick the stuff on, and go from there. I'll show you a couple of examples. We reduce and reuse the stuff. And I started with this. It's a simple wooden joint. I'm trying to make a little prototype as how the thing might be put together, and we're playing around with screws, and we're worrying about the thing rotating and all this kind of stuff. In the end, we simplified it even more. We didn't care where the screws went. Just screw it together. We'll worry about the rest later. And it's actually worked really simply. That's it, or there's parts of it. It's in a shed in Drogheda, in a builder's garage. You can see the base of it is plywood. It is roughly knocked together. But because the artwork is on it, and because you're going into a temporary exhibition space, people don't look at it. We don't want them to look at it. We want them to look at the work. So we've used it over and over again. I'll show you loads of boring slides. Here it is again. The large format units which we've used are for interior design. So they're 4 A1 sheets high by 3 wide. We've used it to place a model, which you can see on the sort of left of center. Product designers use it on the right. They stick A1 and A0 things. We stuck a bicycle or some bicycle locking mechanism thing is there beside me. All right, here's Pauline Chenio. Look at some boards. You can see the model beside it. Now what you'll notice here is how lonely this student is. Sitting there wondering, will anybody look at her exhibition? But we'll show you somewhere there's lots of people. But again, you don't look at the ceiling, you don't look at the walls. We didn't have to do anything. We just wheeled it in, stuck the artwork up, and away we went. When we want to use computers, we use the same stuff. We just drill a hole in the top that we've put on, and stick the computer on the top, the computer on the base, plug it in, away you go. Here she is again, sitting again, lonely, looking, waiting for even more people to come. But again, sometimes we have the frames open, sometimes we can close, sometimes we have books on them, sometimes we don't. We've used it yet again. We then came back for another exhibition. We decided we wanted to put the furniture in with it, so we just painted simple plywood, put it on the floor. Looks really good. Placed objects. This is where the lighting comes in. You can see here that the venue that we put these in had lighting. We moved the lighting around. We projected onto it. This is a video of a guy called Johnny Kelly. He's a brilliant art designer. This is one of his videos. So we used it for all sorts of stuff. We made a bar out of it. We made, you name it, we made it out of it. And we still do it. So we did another exhibition. This is the one that was in the Station House, the one that not many people came after the opening night. But again, you can see the furniture on the ground. We've dropped some lights down to accent things. There's a lot of space in this picture, and that will become obvious in a while why there's a lot of space. Here's some more examples of it. In this was the second instance of it. We wrapped the units completely, so you can't see the inside of the units. So we change things as we go along from exhibition to exhibition, so that they don't all look the same, and so that students get an idea that they can express their creativity. But each time we use it, I think we probably spent $8,000 the first year on units, and we haven't spent much since. We made a couple of units each year. We've used it 10 or 12 times. Now it is a pain to have to unload and unload the truck all the time, but we've done it. Here they've used them back to back. One of the things we don't have a lot of in DIT, or a lot of problems in our exhibitions, is theft. Okay, very few people steal our stuff. Okay, maybe someone would want these wheelless skateboards the hipster would put out. But most of our stuff is printed. It doesn't matter. But you could just as easily make a lockable frame and put it in this and screw it in. So there's lots of things you can do. But theft, you do have to be cautious of. We used it for another exhibition. This was a creative arts and review from the Higher Education Authority. This is my boss, head of the School of Art Design, Printing, Kieran Corcoran. And Kieran's standing there in front of. We made walls of this stuff. And this is in Grange Gorman. We're moving them to Grange Gorman next, and we're going to use them to divide rooms. So people be sick of my totems after a while. But we decorate them with different artwork, so we can reconfigure them. So again, it goes back to the time we spent. Here's another one. Here's the students putting them up. To give you an idea of, here they all are working like beavers and putting the stuff up in now the chocolate factory in Dublin. So into the chocolate factory, again, here they all are. It's lightweight, easy transportable. Or here's some people looking at it again in the chocolate factory, just to show you a couple of different venues. On the left-hand side, you'll see we've used it for a table, put models on it, various things like that. Okay, a night at the opera. Okay, this is the National Concert Hall, and on the 23rd of January, we're having an opera in the National Concert Hall, where DIT students are singing, acting, playing all the instruments, and that's from the Conservatory of Music and Drama. And from the School of Art Design and Printing, which is us, we've designed a stage set. So what we've got is, we've got students from fine art, visual communications, and interior design worked in teams, and they entered the competition, and I'll show you the winner. for a stage set. Our visual merchandising students worked on the design of the costumes. And it's going to happen, and it is slightly scary. But we were worried about the budget. Here they all are. You may recognise Neville not standing in the centre. Neville's on the telly. Here's somewhat. These are parts of the winning team who came to look at the site before we went further. But this is the winning scheme. Okay. And what you notice is we're using the same. We're deconstructing our totems, and we're screwing them in again to make a stage set. Okay. So we're using this stuff on a budget over and over and over again. This time, the thing that I'm really worried about is the lighting. This scheme really relies on lighting. So that's next week's work. You'll see a couple of those. We've got a table, which we will use the stuff we already have. We'll cover the tablecloth. And again, if we light it properly, we don't need many elements. Okay, so that's one of the things that we're trying to do. And of course, it's not just the exhibition. So Brian was mentioning earlier that do you have an exhibition? Do you have a website? We have all of these things all the time. So we will have an exhibition with a website, with a blog, with a Facebook page. Last time we did it, we had beer mats that you pointed your phone at, and zebras danced around. It was pointless, I thought, but the students did it and they enjoyed it. So what the hell? This is the poster. So our students have designed the poster. What you'll notice about the poster is it's hard to read. That was a source of constant battle between various tutors in the IT. Not a big concern of mine. Okay, the purpose of this poster is to draw you in. We're using the same wooden objects we started with a garage in, draw it with, as the kind of lines that form part of the hands. But we recognise people might want to go. So we've got an A5 version where the text is really clear. The previous one is A2. And it's designed to show you an image that you think is nice and draw you in. This one is designed to let you know when it's on, where it's on, and what it's about. Okay, so when you're designing exhibitions, you need other stuff to go with them. You need to tell people it's on, when it's on, where it's on, how it's on, what is it that will interest you. So this is what this kind of says about the Paris collection at Laboem and the Mary Widow. Okay, exhibiting success. Okay, so what makes success? Okay, don't leave the exhibition behind. Okay, every year I drive this damn thing for about 3 days, right? And we have our checklist because we don't want to hit the top, hit the icebergs. And we put everything in this van and we go backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And we put the stuff up and we bring it back. Okay? But someone's going to do that. You've got to figure out who's going to do it, why are they going to do it, where are they going to do it. And that goes back to our infamous Excel spreadsheet. Actually, I like driving vans. It's great fun. Bring spare stuff. Okay? This is a box in my office. Running shoes to get away from it at all. Colouring in devices, but down the bottom there's pens, there's Velcro, there's cutting mats, there's blades, you name it. There's all that stuff that as you go along you might need. Okay, so you've got all this idea in your mind, and then all these people are rushing in. Find the formula for success. Okay, I took this picture in a grocery store in Canada 2 years ago. Nobody wants to go here, right? Not even I, who love sort of weird, odd, banal things. I can see the eggs, I can see the orange juice, I can see, well, there's not else in the picture, but it's, God, no one would come here if they saw the picture in advance. Okay, it's cheap, we know that, okay? But your exhibition has to be above all this, okay? It's got to be better than this. So, a couple of things you need to find a friend. Anyone who's ever manned an exhibition, and I have, it's bloody boring and it's lonely, okay? Bring yourself a friend. You're going to need one, someone to talk to, okay? Okay, yes, you need to engage people to come in, but bring a friend ain't a bad idea. You've got to find an audience. So where are you going to find them from, okay? So are you on a train line? Are you on a bus line? What are you going to do to attract them? One of the things that happens is on opening night, lots of people come, and then lots of people go away again, okay, and you're left lonely. Okay, night 2, have a lecture about something, have a talk, get people in, okay? Night 3, have a different talk. Each night that your exhibition is on, think of doing something that will attract a different audience. You know, all the parents and all the friends and all your friends that come on night 1. Night 2, find some reasons that they got to come. Okay, here's 2 lovely young graphic designers in the IT. Drink alcohol responsibly. They're at the opening night last year, the 2 great guys, Derek and Kevin. And a lot of people come to your exhibitions for lots of reasons. Last week, or a couple of weeks ago, was Design Week, And I think I was at 4 exhibitions one night. I thought to myself, I could make a career out of this. I could just go around drinking and eating canapes, you know, for free. Okay? Some people will come because of that. Some people come because it's warm. I mean, I'm not kidding. Some people, they'll come for various reasons. Find the reasons. Okay? But if what you want is that they go away with some knowledge, figure out how in your exhibition they're going to find the knowledge. Now, let's have a quick look at this. This is the exhibition being built over a 48-hour period. I make it sound easy, but there's a lot of people doing a lot of things in here. So you can see someone's having to install the lights. That's what this guy in the tower is doing. The video was made by John Walsh, one of our lecturers. You can see down the end of the room, the totems have started to arrive. And students, they're starting to build it. Okay? They're starting to lay it out. One of the beautiful things that none of you can draw, this great thing can be wheeled around. You don't like it, just wheel it somewhere else. It's really, really good right now, because of course endless arguments with design lectures about the layout, but what the hell. So you'll see that more and more stuff is arriving. Okay? And you've got to sequence the stuff. It can't all arrive at the same time, all the students, all the stuff. You know, meanwhile I'm back in the ranch, going backwards and forwards with the van, and trying to keep sane. So they're all sort of arriving. You can see the stuff. The one in the foreground got turned into a bar. Oh, there was the bar. I was thinking, the bar got moved. Again, putting more stuff in. It's getting darker. You can see the shadows now. Here we go. It's going to get dark now. All these people, what we did was we got them all, nearly all, set up on day 1. We knew if we left it to day 2, the opening day, it'd never happen. So we got everything set up on day 1, and that's one specific reason was on day 2, which is about to happen. Thankfully, John didn't record all night, he clipped it out. What we wanted to do on day 2 was talk to the media when the exhibition was set up and before everybody arrived. So day 2, it's pretty much, I won't name the students who made a mess in the foreground, but by and large, now what you'll see is you'll suddenly see the camera jumps for reasons beyond me. I think John suddenly realised, you'll see we started to install a whole load of temporary chairs, because on the opening night we give speeches and awards and draw service. Here's all the chairs. So we lay out all the chairs, which doesn't take a long time. But of course, now what you're going to see is you're going to see people suddenly arrive, and then hopefully they'll arrive. They arrived last time I saw them. So people start coming, and we have an opening night. It's really important. You have speeches, and we have all the usual stuff that you probably all have. Okay. Whatever. You're grand. So here they all come, and suddenly they're like hordes. They're everywhere, right? And all that space that we thought was way too big is suddenly full of all these guys, right? And they'll come forward, they'll listen, and now look at the sky, or the ceiling. It's full of hot air. It's a lot of designers after all. And they're all there, right? And then of course they just suddenly go away again. So all of a sudden they're gone, right? And then you've got to clear up. Okay, so there's all of these things. So where do you put the bottles? Where do you put the trash? You know, and bear in mind, these things are free. Where do you put all those things? So, what you've got to do in these exhibitions is you've got to find your feet. Okay, some of it's a bit playing it by ear. I was sent this picture by a client. I quite like it. Clearly, it's irresponsible. But I usually show it to students when they're about to graduate. But sometimes on the night of open exhibition, you'll feel a bit like this. Okay, you know, you're about to embark on something. So you stuck a little bicycle helmet on. I'm a big fan of bicycle helmets, and our exhibition designer John, who made the video, was very badly injured because someone hit him, but he wasn't wearing a helmet. So wear bicycle helmets. And stick stabilizers on. Okay. And then as you propel yourself down the slope, you don't quite know where you're going to end up. Are you going to end up in front of that sort of car on the left-hand side, or are you going to merrily wheel your way around and go around and suddenly be round again? Hopefully that's where you're going to go. But sometimes when you're doing something, you're taking a risk. But it's worth it if the journey is right. I love roller coasters. I'm terrified of heights. I love roller coasters. Love them. Because the journey is worth it. That's what you've got to figure out is, what's the journey I'm on? Who's coming on the journey with me? And how are we going to make it a success? Thanks very much.